So today I want to make yet another video on Marilyn Monroe. There's two main reasons. One is there's a new movie out called Blonde. And also I just happened to upload a video from 5 years ago that I made about Marilyn Monroe on my other channel. But I wanted to add a few more comments about this character. Let's just start out with the Adam's apple, in case you have some cognitive dissonance. If you cannot believe that Marilyn Monroe could possibly have been a man, let's just get a few pieces of evidence out of the way real quick so you don't just turn off the video and say, no way, that's impossible. See, they like to do these facial expressions that have a pretty significant psychological and emotional impact on the viewer. So it's showing you the Adam's apple and basically mocking us. And there's the Adam's apple again. We got a few Adam's apple photos here I want to show you. Yeah, it's the double-pronged Adam's apple that you find on a man. And nobody seems to have noticed it or thought about it for, 50 years or whatever. But I really wanted to focus on this phenomenon of the androgynes crossing the legs. It's a very simple but yet powerful deception that they're doing. So if you just look at those legs right here, they look like male legs, right? They're fairly muscular and thick. They're hairless, but yet the actual bone and flesh involved there is quite masculine. From the shoulders down to the feet, the whole body is actually quite masculine, except it's wearing a female bathing suit with fake breasts. But those legs are quite masculine, and when they cross the legs, it makes it look like they have a female Q angle. And we see it doing it here again in all three of these photos. I did mention it in my video 5 years ago, but I think it needs to be emphasized a bit more, because over the years I've just seen them doing this one pose over and over and over again. And it is a very effective pose, and if you don't think about it, you might miss it. All right, it's the crossing of the legs that makes it look like they have female hips. It's an artificial Q angle. It's not a female Q angle. All right, they're faking the hourglass curve of a woman's body simply by crossing the legs. And then there's unusual shapes on the torso that you wouldn't find in a woman. You might find it on a starving man. Someone sucking in their gut. This person may even have rib removal surgery, and I talked about that with that weird scar. And look at the shoulders and the upper body. It's just way too firm and hard and lean. Very low body fat on this person. And even the face has a square jaw. This person has the skull of a man. But you can see there was a certain technique they had back then. They had these relatively large men, and they just tried to turn them into women. They basically look like drag queens. Why do the drag queens always imitate Marilyn Monroe and some of the other people they always do? I don't think they consciously realize it, but somehow they must realize that they're able to look kind of like Marilyn Monroe and channel that same image, that same illusion, in fact.
Because I studied bone structures so in depth, and of course I was very familiar with my own bone structure, and I came across a photograph. I realized that there was a similarity in bone structure.
So it is kind of interesting how this person realized that he had similar bone structure to Marilyn Monroe. Gee, I wonder why that is.
I'm a little boy with a certain bone structure who wanted to be a makeup artist, and I just kind of went into this.
Right.
Developed an act.
The principles that I'm applying to the office are the same ones that have made Lady Gaga a star, or any number of drag queens.
If you're going to be two-faced, at least make one of them pretty. See, they got two faces. Their original male face and then the female illusion face. They're gods in drag, like RuPaul said. So here's some drag queens who, now they're not always going to look exactly like Marilyn Monroe, but these are men dressed in drag. Marilyn Monroe's iconic look. Icon is the word for image. The magic's in the makeup. Remember in the book of Enoch, the fallen angels came to earth and taught men how to wear makeup. Makeup is associated with pharmakia, magic, sorcery, witchcraft. And there's a female impersonator doing the classic pose. Now, these are obviously men. I guess that's the same guy without the wig on. But they have the basic look, right? Maybe their jaw is a little bit more masculine than Marilyn Monroe. Celebrity impersonator, right? And look at the people on that list. They're all a bunch of drag queens anyway. You can hire a drag queen who looks like the original drag queens, or you just turn on the TV, you'll see a bunch of drag queens.
I used to open up for these incredible drag queens in North Carolina at this club called the Paddock Club. I used to open up for these incredible drag queens in North Carolina.
So these are not the drag queen impersonators. This is the original article. Tons of makeup. That just looks like a drag queen. Look at the brow bone above the eyes. And there again, it just looks like a drag queen. And it was in a movie called Some Like It Hot, which was about cross-dressing, actually. And in fact, it says right there, not suitable for children. At least they had the warning stickers on it back then. Nowadays, this is normal. So a bunch of drag queens. There's 2 drag queens right there. So I've never seen this movie, but apparently these guys had to do a little cross-dressing to achieve their goal, whatever that may have been. But we know that it's the same goal as the Freemasons and the Kabbalists and all these people practicing the mystery religions. And now we have some photos of the one eye symbolism that we find all the time with these people. Nothing original. The all-seeing eye showing us their spiritual beliefs. There it is again, all-seeing eye photos. Not an accident. These are intentional. Dualism to monism, right? The 2 into 1. And we're going to look at some face shots here. Basically, you see the square jaw and the brow bone. They probably gave this one a nose job, and that's about it. And then just caked on the makeup and had it wear fancy clothes and put that female hairstyle on it. But the actual shape of that head is extremely masculine, actually. And that's why it always has to do these facial expressions so that we don't notice it. These are, there's a spirit of deception behind this whole thing that's in a spirit of rebellion against God. This is an abomination, an intentional abomination. This is rebellion against God. Abomination. I mean, just think how much you have to rebel against God and God's creation to transform into an abomination like this, mixing of the male and the female. I mean, that's transhumanism. This is a different species here. And it's also a way to control the population. Sterilization. There it is when it's older. It's like an aging drag queen, right? If you sat down next to that person, you'd be like, oh, are you a drag performer? It's like, no, I'm Marilyn Monroe. I am the original drag. And this person, of course, associated with the Kennedys and had a mysterious and tragic early death, as they like to do. Some kind of death ritual. Death, of course, a very powerful phenomenon that these people like to exploit. So now we're going to look at 2 movies called Blonde. The first one made in 2001. We got a couple of androgynes right there. And this actor named Poppy Montgomery played the role of Norma Jean or Marilyn Monroe. Now there's an old adage in Hollywood, you got to get the tranny to play the tranny. Very important for the casting directors to understand that basic rule. And it looks like they have succeeded in the original version of Blonde. Now there's a new movie called Blonde starring Ana de Armas, who is a up-and-coming young trans actor. Crossing the legs, hand on the hips. Now this one almost looks a little bit Asian or something. Not sure what the official story of the ethnicity is here, but certainly has a very exotic look to it, and part of it is because this is actually a man. You got the brow bone, you got the shoulders. I think there's some Asian blood in this person that is used to throw us off a little bit. Got the bright red lipstick. There's always a lot of makeup on this one. A lot of men would be attracted to this person here, but if you look closely on this photo, you can see the skin is not quite as smooth as they make it out to be. And this is not a very attractive looking person in that photo which is probably a little bit more realistic to what this person actually looks like. But then it gets all dolled up in disguise as a female illusionist and looks more attractive to the naked eye. It's all an illusion. These are female illusionists. All right. And for some reason, this one looks a lot like Miley Cyrus. And it looks like a few others as well. There's, they all start to look the same after a while because they're all kind of doing the same procedures, taking the same pharmacia, going to the same doctors, doing the same poses, wearing the same clothes and makeup and all that stuff, right? I think they've kind of run out of ideas to a certain degree. And they may even all be related, actually, if you think about it. So now this one was in that movie called Blade Runner 2049. Played an AI hologram girlfriend. All right, so I guess that's showing us the future. People are going to have hologram AI girlfriends who are actually androgynes. And here's a quote from the movie. The character's name was Joy. And Joy says, mere data makes a man, A and C and T and G, which is the genetic code, apparently. The alphabet of U, all from 4 symbols. I am only 2, 1 and 0, or the I and the O, or the male and the female, right? The androgyne. I've shown that before many times on my channel. The 1 and the 0, the binary, it's the male and the female. It's the obelisk and the circle. See, an obelisk, it's always on top of a circle. That's an androgyny symbol. That's the circle and triangle. It's the same thing. So this person is 2, not 4. So maybe there's some kind of clue about their bioengineering and how they're creating these people. And then there's a love scene in this movie where the AI hologram androgyne, possibly representing the spirit, right, or the demonic spirit, actually enters into that other androgynous body. So you have the AI androgynous hologram entering into that other androgynous body. It's the spirit entering the body. It's the demon entering the material world. It's the spiritual entity interacting with the material world. They need to inhabit a body. So there may be some clues there about what's actually going on.
I swear that's Marilyn Monroe.
We're in New York City, and we'll be back in just a moment.